Peace, peace. What's the word? What's happening, everybody? Hopefully, everybody is having a powerful, peaceful, and productive Sunday. Hopefully, the weekend has been going great for you all. And hopefully, y'all got about 45 minutes to an hour to chop it up, listen to the bill, add on, all that good stuff, man. I'm going to give y'all about 5 to 6 minutes to tap in. Let me know how y'all living and feeling on this wonderful Sunday, man, before I start building on this subject matter. Y'all see what it is, man. I got about a good hour or so to build. Life getting a little busier for me, but I'm gonna still make time to give y'all this content, man. Y'all know how I go. We not gonna stop with that. But what's the word, man? How we living? How we feeling? Y'all been staying on track health wise, mentally, all that good stuff, man. What's the word? Talk to me before I start talking to y'all, man. Give y'all some time to tap in, man. On this wonderful Sunday, man. We doing good. We doing great on this end, man. Just mentally, we feeling good. Physically, we feeling good. So we gonna keep on elevating. Y'all know how it go. But what's the word, man? Let me know how we living. Let me know how we feeling. What's the word? Tap in. Tap in. Y'all see the subject matter, man. We gonna go in. We gonna talk about the intellectual black man and how that's the biggest threat. We pose the biggest threat to American society. We pose the biggest threat to the world in general, if you ask me. But definitely, on the Western side of things, man. That's why they got to keep us in that dumbed down, pacified state. Keep us in the stupor, as they call it. You know, we know all the great elders and ancestors that came before us that have had knowledge of self, was a scholar, intellectual. You already know how that story tended to unfold and end, unfortunately. Hey, my brother Antonio, peace. What's happening? What's the word? How we living? How we feeling? So we got to keep the intellectual mind. We gotta keep it going and flowing. I'm noticing that it's dying down, or it's been dying down for the past few years, as far as just embracing intelligence. Embracing intelligence. And I made a post a minute ago about having to deal with your own people when it comes to just elevating your mind, and how your biggest struggle is going to come from your own people. But part of the reason behind that is due to programming and conditioning. The oppressor said, okay, look, we don't want to continue to overtly enslave them. Let's make them go against each other. So let's teach our ways on them. So then those individuals that are highly influenced by us and accept our teachings the way we teach them, they're going to use it to further push our agenda. And that's what we got. You got very select few of us that went against the grain back in the day. Y'all know the house Negro, field Negroes, all that type of good stuff, man. Very few of us that's going to go against the grain. But for the most part, the masses of the black mind, they are going to listen and accept what the oppressor is teaching them. And they are going to go in the direction of the oppressor. So then now they basically, what we say, black face, white mind. Those are the individuals that we have to deal with. So it looks like the war is black on black per se. But that's really, when you really break it down and get deep off in the trenches with the studying, we know that that's not necessarily the case. Tony, peace, what's happening? Hey, Antonio, for sure. Hey, that's it. Striving to be better on a daily basis, for sure. Oh, Tony, most definitely. So that's what we are wrestling with, man. We dealing with an oppressed people that got the mind of the people that enslaved them. And we are generations in when it comes to that. So a lot of times, man, like just with the black information, whatever you want to call it, man, just black history. I have had personally the hardest conversations amongst my own. You got to understand, you dealing with a people who were stripped of the knowledge of themselves. I'm not even going to say lost. I'm going to stop saying that, because we didn't necessarily lose the knowledge of ourselves. It was stripped. It was taken from us, and they rewrote it to benefit them. So it wasn't necessarily lost. Like, our ancestors did not lose it. It was stripped from them. It was taken from them. That knowledge was taken from. They destroying libraries. They killing the people who trying to keep traditions alive. They giving you an ultimatum. Like, hey, if you don't convert over to this, you die. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a people that lost some knowledge. That's not some people that lost history. They didn't lose themselves. They was forced to either change or die. You know what I'm saying? Convert over or die. So we didn't lose that knowledge of ourselves, man. It was taken from us when they gave us that ultimatum. You know, you trying to keep this tradition alive, or you being a pagan, we off with his head. You didn't lose knowledge of yourself. You didn't lose it. That was stripped from you. You know, so we generations in of that type of environment, being raised by people who were stripped of the knowledge of themselves and given a culture that was unlike their true culture, their true way of life, their true nature. You know, and you generations into that, what do you get? What do you get when you're 5, 6, 7 generations in under that type of environment, that type of direction and guidance? You have a severely oppressed people. Like it's hard to deal with that type of mind, especially when you have disconnected from it. When you have disconnected from that type of mindset, because again, a lot of us was there. I know I was there. I was what they call a savage in the pursuit of happiness, man. I was in that classification. You know, I didn't have the knowledge of myself. I was not anywhere near close to having the knowledge of the true history of my people at one point in time. And I was just like some of the folks that I've criticized at one point. That's why I try not to criticize them as much, because I was there at a point in time, man, where if you was an OG and you was trying to drop that game on me, I didn't want to hear that. But I woke up fairly quick. Like, it didn't take me long, man. It didn't take me long. Once I came across certain pieces of information, I was all ears after that. You know, but during them younger years for a little second, man, I didn't want to hear any of that. But it did not last long for me. Some folks, it lasts well into adulthood, you know, 30, 40, 50, and they still don't want to hear any of this information. You know, that's why they always tell you to get these folks while they're young. You have the better opportunity to teach the youth the truth, as opposed to a 30, 40, 50-year-old that's stuck in their ways and don't want to hear that, you know? So I was there at one point, man. I was there. Like, I didn't want to hear that, man. What are you talking about, all this black stuff, this African stuff, this African this, Africa that? Like, I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear it. But again, like I say, about 18, when I hit 18, game changed for me. And sometimes that's all it takes, is for you to come across the right piece of information. Right piece of information. It don't even necessarily have to be like a book. You know what I'm saying? It could just be anything, an experience. It could be one sentence. It could be a speech. Like, man, it just take that one thing to create that spark, man, and that's it. For me, it just so happened to be a book, man. When I read The Message to the Black Man, that was it. Coupled with the autobiography of Malcolm X, like, that was like it for me. Along with, matter of fact, no, I'm not gonna say that was it. I'm also say observing certain things within a religious paradigm, like that was opening my mind to certain things, and that had me thinking outside of certain boxes. You know, but when I came across a Message to the Black Man, I was like, okay, all right, this is what I needed right here. I'm resonating with it. TJ, peace, what's happening? And I even just been studying like the law of attraction, and it talks about just being in vibrational resonance with things, man. It's like what you resonate with, that's what you attract. And I feel like that's why the Message of the Black Man and all of that type of material came to me. You know, when I start studying the law of attraction and studying it on a metaphysical and just a deeper level, and I came across vibrational resonance, I'm like, okay, now it makes sense as to why all of that information came to me. That's what I was on vibrational resonance with. Like, I resonated with that on an emotional level, so therefore I attracted it to my life. I've always felt the way in which the things I was reading, I've always felt that way. Like, all of the material within Message to the Black Man, like, I've always kind of felt that. I just didn't know how to describe it, you know, at 16 or 15, but I always felt that way. Like, if you've ever read that book and the autobiography of Malcolm X and How to Eat to Live, like, these are things like I've kind of always felt that way up until that point. I just, like I said, I hadn't come across that information. I didn't know anybody else possessed these thoughts. So it's like internally I felt it, but I kind of kept it inside because I'm like, man, I don't know, man, I might get viewed a little differently. I'm 15, 16. I might get looked at weird if I start saying some of these things, you know. So I attracted that material to me, just understanding the law of attraction on that deeper level. Now I resonated with that type of material. So it came to me, and it came to me early. And that changed the game for me. Once it came into my life, it's been up, as they say, since then. But being that type of black man in this society, man, this is probably one of the most challenging things to do or be in this society, man, because you get frustrated, because you do all this work to strive to help your people, but the main people that you striving to help are the main people that's going to give you that resistance. The main people. And at times, man, that can get frustrating, and it can cause you, because I've been there plenty of times, it will cause you to just kind of throw in your hat, throw in the towel. Like, man, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of doing all this research. People don't understand, man. Reading is tedious, man. It's not easy, and sometimes it's not even enjoyable. You know, when you reading, like, it's certain material that you have to read, man, that's not easy to read, pertaining to our history, especially our history in America. You know, so sometimes this reading is not necessarily pleasant on the eyes, man, and mentally, to be coming across a lot of this information, but we have to. Some of us have a duty, you know, and we have to read this information. We have to research this information so that we can pass it along. You know, and sometimes it's not a pleasant job, man. Like sitting down with these books, man. Some of these books are hard to read, literally and figuratively. You know, some of these books are very challenging reads. You know, but we got to put in that work, man, so that we can educate the people who are striving to listen, whether that's 2 or 3 people. And sometimes, man, you spending long nights, man, researching and reading just to reach 1 or 2 minds. And that's something that you have to accept when you're on this type of journey, that it's never really going to be totally popular unless somehow overnight society changes and we get back on top, and then it will be popular. But if the powers that be, the unseen hand, continue to maintain this power that they have, this is never going to be something that's popular with the black masses. Never. Tony, for sure. Medical apartheid, man. Listen, that was a very hard read, man. Especially if you read that. Like, when I read Medical Apartheid, I read that book having no knowledge of most of that stuff, man. So like, if you read that book later on in your development, you kind of hip to the wickedness that's going on, like, you may be able to stomach it better, man. But I read that book early in the game when I was like naive and gullible and just kind of green to a lot, not thinking that it's really that bad out here. Like, I kind of had a gut feeling that it was that bad, but I really just didn't know to the extent that I know now. So when I read that book, I was like, man, hold on, they doing what now? It was crazy when I read that, man. And then another book, Bad Blood, when they broke down the Tuskegee experiment. That was another one. I read that early on. I went to Barnes and Noble and saw that. Stuck out to me because I resonated with it. And when I read that and actually read a book on the Tuskegee experiment, instead of just kind of knowing that it existed and it happened, I actually read a thorough book on that subject and that experiment. And I was like, oh, okay, now this is crazy. So just reading heavy material like that, man, it's a few of those type of books, man, where when you read them, man, it's not a not a pleasant read, man. But we gotta do the research. Without Sanctuary, that's another one, because they got the photographs of a lot of the lynchings that took place back in the day. So, man, you read that, you about to see all the photographs of what they did to our ancestors back in the day for no reason other than looking in the wrong direction or just being black, having a certain pigmentation. And that book has the photographs. Like, you are seeing the lynchings, you are seeing our ancestors hanging from trees, like you seeing that visually. It's not an easy read, man. Not an easy read, but somebody has to do the research, man, so we can continue to push the truth, to combat the lies and the misinformation. And that's what they don't want. They do not want that, especially coming from the black man. They don't understand. Well, they understand. We don't understand because of the conditioning and the brainwashing, how powerful the black man is and the black man's mind. That is why when a black man is utilizing his mind to its highest capacity, they got to shut it down. It doesn't matter if we are physically as strong. Like, they don't care about a black man that's physically gifted. Like, that's not a threat to them, because for the most part, you physically gifted, but your mind ain't working properly. Then you're going to use that to terrorize your own community. But when you got that mind that they cannot get a hold of, that they can't control, that's a problem. And they know how magnetic the black man's mind is. They know how magnetic our minds are. So when you get the right brother that's pushing the right message, the wrong message in their eyes. But when you get the black man with a powerful mind pushing the right message, he's going to influence a very large portion of his people. They don't like that. They don't like that. When you get a black man with a powerful mind that knows and understands his power, he is going to be able to organize thousands, if not millions, of his people. We got plenty of examples all throughout history of that black man utilizing that mind to his highest capacity and the influence that he ends up having over his people. Now, of course, that's not going to come without backlash. But even when you got the backlash amongst your own, if you can unite thousands, millions of your people, they don't like that. Because we've always received backlash, and we've always had internal conflict amongst each other as far as approaches to take. Back when Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois was out here beefing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've always had that with the MLK, Martin Luther King. Like, we've always had that. But at the end of the day, they still do not like when you are able to utilize your mind to the highest capacity and you're able to organize your people. And that's what a powerful black man utilizing his mind to the highest capacity can and will do. When you come across this information, you know and understand you came across this information for a reason, and it was to elevate your people, bring them out of that mental grave. That's the whole reason. That's why I'm never silent. When I come across this information, man, part one is to implement it in my life to elevate me and help my family. Secondly, my duty is to teach those that do not know. So I get the information, I apply it to my life to elevate my life, my universe, and then I teach that to somebody who doesn't know. That's how it's supposed to go. That's how it goes. So when you coming across this information, you coming across it for a reason, man. You can't sit on it. You can't sit on it. If you sitting on it, then you're not doing your duty. So you always got to do your duty, man. So when I come across information, man, that's why I'm like, all right, let me try to share it with my people as fast as possible. I'm going to experiment on my life first by applying it, but then I'm going to make sure I get this information out to my brothers, man, and my sisters. And like I say again, they do not like that. Public enemy number one. Every black man that has utilized his mind and has went against the grain became the biggest threat to the establishment. And notice, it wasn't a physical threat. He wasn't about to cause physical harm to white society. It's all mental. He's just utilizing his mind, speaking truth to power, and they got to assassinate somebody that's simply using his mind, using his words, because they know what type of energy can come from that. They know how that can move the people, and that's the problem. It's not the soldiers that they worrying about. It's the people up top that's controlling the soldiers. That's the problem. So when your mind is powerful enough, you can, first of all, you're going to organize the soldiers. You're going to get these soldiers together and say, we got a common cause. We got a common enemy. We need to come together and we need to destroy that enemy. That type of person is probably not going to be the one fighting in the war. So they don't care about the soldiers. They don't care about the soldiers. They care about that man who can organize a group of people, organize the soldiers, and direct that energy in a certain direction. The Huey Newtons, the Malcolm X's, man, the Khalid Muhammad's, man, they can organize. They don't want that. Anybody who can bring brothers together and make them forget that at some point they were beefing with each other, that's powerful. That's power. That's power. That's even why I study So this is one thing, man. I study mob bosses, I study gang leaders, I study all of that because that's a power, it's a skill. But a lot of times we use it in the wrong, like in the wrong direction towards each other. Like a gang leader, man, that's powerful. That's a leader. He's just using it to cause destruction in his own neighborhoods. And they love that. But man, those people, a gang leader, man, is a powerful person. It's a powerful person. You able to organize these folks up underneath you and get them to do exactly what it is that you want them to do to this enemy. It's powerful. Not too many people can do that. Not too, a very select few individuals can actually do something of that caliber. That's why I study any and everybody who has ever done that. It's powerful. It's very powerful because it's not easy. It's not easy to manage 3 or 4 people, let alone hundreds, let alone 30, 40, 50, and get them to take orders and things like that, man. That's not an easy task, man. So I study all of them. I'm always watching mob documentaries, gang documentaries, and I'm studying the leadership. You know, and then when you get to the political level, man, that's all they are. And a lot of them are in, you know, y'all know the connection there with the mob and politics and things like that. You know, the mob didn't put money in a lot of these politicians' pockets for sure. And these politicians will use the mob, they will use the gang members to their benefit. Y'all know how that stuff goes. That's how they're able to infiltrate. That's how they're able to infiltrate and get information. So this ain't nothing new under the sun, man. When you watching those shows, man, and you see that you see they got the informants out here getting information, like, and you thinking that some of this destruction, like they just not hip to it going on out here. No, they hip. They need information. They want information, so they allowing this stuff to go on because they gathering information. Like, we got an informant over here, man. We can't take down the operation yet. We need some more information. It's something going on that we not hip to. So we got somebody on the inside giving us information. And when we ready to take it down, we gonna take it down. This stuff actually happens. So I'm always tapping in to any form of leadership. So I can learn how I go. And one of the things that I've come to realize from a lot of leaders is fear. You know, a lot of leaders embrace that concept of being feared. Now you got a lot of different leaders and a lot of different leadership approaches, you know, but a lot of leaders use that fear tactic. They use it. That fear tactic is real. You know what I'm saying? And that utilizing that fear for the most part, man, can get people to do exactly what you want them to do. What they say, sometimes fear is stronger than love. When you get a large amount of people to fear you, man, you definitely can have some control over their minds when they are afraid of what will happen if they cross your path, if they cross you. So when I study a lot of leaders, man, that fear, man, fear is something that's like a common denominator for a lot of these leaders, man. It's fear. It's still in that fear, being feared. Like they big on like instilling that fear and then respect. Yeah, Tony, for sure, man. I'm anything that's revolving around leadership. If I can learn anything about leadership, I'm studying it. The good, bad, the ugly. You know, I'm studying it all. I'm studying it all. You know that, and that's helping me elevate, and also studying the corrupt side of leadership. Studying the corrupt side of leadership is allowing me to master the enemy, master the oppressor. 48 Laws of Power, you know, again, however we want to feel about that book. A lot of people don't like that book. I'm not going to say I like it nor dislike it. I understand it though. You know, I read that book, man. That's the corporate guide. That's the guide to existing and elevating in corporate America. And that's also the white man's guide to power. Like when you read 48 Laws of Power, you are able to master the white man in corporate America. Because that book is that's his Bible. That's his Bible, fam. That's his Quran. You know what I'm saying? That's the white man's Bible and Quran in corporate America. The 48 Laws of Power. It's his Bible, that's his Quran. That's the book that they read, and those are the principles and laws that they apply to get power, to stay in power, to sustain power. I guarantee you. 48 Laws of Power, man. That's the Bible. That's the Quran for the white man in corporate America. Like, I promise you that's what that is. All right, hey Ryan, for sure. You say they only really better than us at savagery. 100%. Savagery, wickedness, devilishment, I should say. Just fresh, yeah. 48 Laws of Power, The Art of War, and The Prince. Which all of those books pretty much are related. Because 48 Laws of Power, he mentions both of those books in that. So the 48 Laws of Power is just like, it's taking those books to the next level, because then you got 33 Strategies of War by the same author, Robert Greene. That's like the modern version of both of those books combined. You know, so you can, if you really just want to know how to get, you know what I'm saying, how to exist and elevate within the corporate structure, you can skip The Prince and The Art of War and read 48 Laws of Power, and that's going to sum both of those books up, and 33 Strategies of War by the same author, and now you got it. It's almost like you done read The Prince and Art of War, because I read both of them. And when I read 48 Laws of Power, I'm like, boom, you could tell he was influenced by those two books. And like I say, you can see it. You're like, okay, cool. So it's like, yep, that's what they read. Like they read, like, you know, you got to understand something. These white folks, they studying war, like they studying military tactics for corporate, like for the corporate world. You know what I'm saying? Like they reading 48 Laws of Power, they reading Art of War and The Prince for business. Like we not on that. We don't understand that bit. Like what I say, business is warfare. Like we ain't understand. We trying to read legitimate business books to make it. Like they reading The Art of War. They reading 48 Laws of Power. They reading The Prince. Like this is war to them. This is straight war. They understand that this is war. We don't never understand that. Like, man, this is war, fam. Like when you go out into that workforce, that is literally war, fam. Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, if you got your own business, that's war. You out here competing. You know what I'm saying? You competing. You trying to gain the consumer's attention, and you competing with all these other folks that do exactly what it is that you do. That's competition. That's war. And when you didn't play sports, man, you know that you in the trenches. That's war. We the ones that be soft when it come to that, man. It is war, dog. War. Everybody else understands that. That's why they are studying war. Tupac, that's what he was studying. Tupac was like, this is war. That's why he called them the outlaws. And look at the names that he gave them cats. Hussein Fatal, Saddam Hussein. Come on, like y'all know the names that he gave them, man. Idi Amin. Like it's some very he named them after some very not so favorable leaders and called them the outlaws. Named himself Machiavelli. Like, come on, like Pac knew what it was. That's what we got to study and research. That's what we got. That's how we got to approach this thing called life. And that's why I say they don't like the black mind. When we start taking that, when we take that type of mindset and understand that this is war, and we start studying for war, it's over with. Because when you start studying war, you start to understand that it's all about strategy. It's not about brute force and strength and being stronger, having the most guns. Like, it's not about all of that. It's about strategy. If you strategize properly, man, you can defeat the bigger and badder enemy, the bigger and badder opponent, when the strategy is right and exact. And the strategy That derives from the mind. That's mental. It's mental. Dean, exactly. That's why I tell people, man, when you in the corporate world, you got to turn on another switch. Forget being decent. It's war. It's kill or be killed. That's what it is when you're dealing with corporate America, man. Even just business in general. It's war. It's war. Like, you got to look at it like, man, this is war. Like, it's a battle. It's a fight. Like, I take my sports mentality into the world of business, man. When I was playing football, man, like, I know how to turn on the switch. Sometimes you played against people you knew. Like, when I played football, man, there's a lot of times where it was somebody I knew and I was cool with on the other side. But when it was time to play, when the game started, nah, you wasn't my homie then. And I'm gonna run you over if you get in my way. But then once the game was over, it's like, all right, man, good game. That's the switch we gotta have when it's corporate time, when it's business time. And a lot of black people don't know how to operate like that. We feel like we being corrupt. We feel like we deceiving people. No, nah, we playing this game how it was designed to be played. What they say, don't take it personal. It's business. That's their saying. We gotta apply that, man. Hey, it's not personal, man. It's all business, and we gotta not be offended when it's business. You know, when you doing business, you know, being a business person, you get most of the flack from the people in your community. They don't want to pay you certain prices. They looking for discounts. They all offended because you charging them the same price you charging somebody you don't know. They get offended when it's business. I gotta eat. I gotta survive. I can't be giving y'all a discount. You shouldn't be asking for the discount, fam. You shouldn't be asking for. You shouldn't be looking for one. You know, so again, we don't be knowing how to turn that switch on and off sometimes, man. It's business. It's never personal. You come to me, I got to charge you the same price that I charge everybody else. Matter of fact, you should want to pay me that same price, you know. But since you don't, here we go. Here's the price. Here's what I'm charging. Same thing. Get offended by it, not my problem. So hey, you got to just turn that. You got to be able to turn that switch on, man. Every other ethnic group, every other culture understands that. So again, then especially when I'm going amongst them in the corporate world, business world. Oh yeah, it's definitely wartime. It's definitely wartime. When they the ones lining up across from you, when they are the competition, you know, let's go to war. So I definitely recommend people read all them books. Read every military strategy book you can read. Art of War, The Prince, 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, The Laws of Human Nature, all of that. Read all of that. Heck, even his book, the Robert Greene, The Art of Seduction. Like that's one white dude that he has given us the blueprint. He has summarized how these white folks move. He has given us all the books that if you just read all of his books, you got it. You can master them. He has given us the blueprint to mastering the white man. Robert Greene, every book he has written, he has given us the blueprint. Art of Seduction, Laws of Human Nature, 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War. That white dude, he's given us all of the game. Everything you need to know about how their minds operate is in all of his books. I promise you. Even the Art of Seduction. Yeah, Mastery. That's another one. But Mastery on my end, man, that's good for elevation. I like that book. That's probably my favorite one from him. But yeah, the Art of Seduction, like you read that book, you be like, oh, okay, this is what they be doing. This is what they be on. But that's one author who has dedicated his life to giving us the blueprint for how they operate. Like literally. So I recommend reading all of his joints. Robert Greene, just go down the Robert Greene rabbit hole, and I promise you, if you in corporate America, you gonna know exactly what you need to do. If you in business, you gonna know exactly what you need to do if you want to thrive out here. It's cutthroat, and that's just how you gotta be out here. You play it nice, you're not gonna make it, unfortunate. That don't mean you have to mislead people, man, but you got to be direct. You can't be letting your guards down, and you can't be too generous, man. You just can't be. You can't be too generous because people will take advantage of that, and you cannot be taken advantage of in the business world, in the corporate world. They're gonna walk right over you. They're gonna walk right over you. So they gonna walk right over you. So again, when it comes to studying and researching, definitely study military strategy, war strategy. That's a subject matter that you definitely should be studying as a man, as a black man for sure. And that's gonna help us when it comes time to plot, plan, and strategize and come together and do certain things, man. Just studying these tactics, just studying the stories. So I feel like that's definitely something that a black man should be hip to. Just war strategy, war tactics, survival tactics, like all these type of things, man. We need to know these things. We need to study these things. Ryan, for sure, that's the first war, unfortunately, that we have to face, the internal war, because we are the people that have been stripped of that knowledge of ourselves. So that's going to be the first war that you have to conquer. That's going to be the first war for sure. Especially for me, like on my personal experience. Excuse me. But my personal experience, man, that was the first war because, like I said, I was blind, deaf, and dumb. No knowledge of self, savage in the pursuit of happiness. Just a savage out here. So then when I came across that information, I was like, wait a minute. This don't line up with stuff I was taught. This don't line up with what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've went through, what I've experienced. Matter of fact, it contradicts it. So now I'm confused. That's an internal conflict. That's a war. So I already was kind of having an identity carved out for myself that revolved around this whitewashed society. And that led to a negative self-image of myself, which was low self-esteem. So then I'm coming across this information that contradicts it and it's like, nah, you should view yourself in this light. You come from a powerful people. I'm like, man, I ain't never heard this type of stuff before. So I'm battling with it. I'm battling with that. I'm battling with what the way society influenced my mind and my self-image prior to coming across this knowledge. Now I got this knowledge. Now I'm like, man, how do I insert this? And how do I change? How do I elevate? How do I evolve? Like, how do I go about this process? That was a struggle, because now I'm used to moving a certain type of way. It's my norm. I got my circle of people that I know that knew me when I was in this state. So now you coming across this information that's telling you to be the total opposite of the ways you are. And it's like, man, if I do this, how everybody gonna feel that's around me? So it take a minute for you to accept that reality that you gonna make this change and it's gonna change up your inner circle, the people that's around you. So when I first came across that information, it took a minute for me to get comfortable expressing it and kind of changing accordingly. So I would keep a lot of things just to myself when I first started coming across this information or certain pieces of information. I would keep a lot of that to myself because I didn't want to lose friends. I didn't want to lose family members and things like that. I didn't want people judging me. I didn't want to lose people. That was a concern. I'm 18, so I'm like, man, I still I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I want to go hang with the crew and have certain family members that I know that if I express these thoughts, they're not going to rock with me. So I still kind of wanted to keep them around for certain things, man. But then it's like I got to a point where I was like, all right, man, I don't even care anymore. I'm about to fully express these things. And hey, if they stick around, they stick around. If they don't, then cool. Adios. But that struggle was real. And everybody I know that came across or that has some knowledge of themselves and their history and all that good stuff, they went through similar experiences. So I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not alone when it comes to that. But that was a internal struggle for sure, 1,000%, even like on that end. And then, like I say, from an identity standpoint, just changing my identity. I'm having I'm having a negative self-image, low confidence, low self-esteem. To all of a sudden, man, you God, you know what I'm saying? Like that's different. That's different, man. Like that's different. You go from the lowest of the low view of yourself to the highest of the high. Like that's not easy to transition to. You're not going to overnight view yourself in that supreme light. You're going to have every reason in your mind to be like, man, this ain't, I'm not this, I'm not that, because you got 18, 19, 20, 25 years of the opposite being true. When you come across that glorious history, that glorious information that's telling you, man, you the supreme being, man, ain't nobody as powerful as you. Like, that's not easy to grasp when you've been living for 18, 19, 20 years and you feel inferior. So it's going to take a minute for you to be comfortable enough to live that reality out. And that whole entire time where it's a struggle, that's war. You fighting with yourself. You didn't read this book and it didn't told you how to view the black woman, and you still out here disrespecting them. Like, it's a struggle, it's a war, because that's what you used to. You didn't read this book and it didn't told you, man, don't eat X, Y, and Z. And you went out here and you ate X, Y, and Z. That's a struggle. It's war. It's hard. It's not that transition is not easy. It didn't told you to look in that mirror and see the best in yourself, and then see the best in your brother, the best in your sister. And you don't do that. That's a struggle. It's war. It's a lot of ups and downs when it comes to that. A lot of ups and downs. And I've been there, done. I still struggle from time to time. Unfortunately, man, when you a black man, and man, you come across that knowledge of yourself, man, it's not easy, bro. It's not easy to come out here thrive. Your language change, all that. The language, the way you dress, the music you listen to, the foods you eat, like all of that starts to shift. And it's not that easy to exist amongst the masses of people when that's what you own, man. You listening to different music, you dressing differently, man. You speaking differently, man. You hitting them with peace instead of what up, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff is changing. They not ready for that. They like, what you mean by peace, man? What are you talking about? So when all that stuff starts changing, man, it's you having to explain yourself every 5 minutes. It's just it gets annoying at first, man. Like, at first it's irritating. Like, back when I was first transitioning, just making a lot of changes, I had to explain everything I was doing. I didn't necessarily have to, but you will be doing certain things, making changes, and every time somebody be around, they ask you, why you doing this? Why you saying that? 1 week ago, like a week ago, you wasn't just doing that. Last month, you wasn't eating like that. It's like, I can't change. Like, I can't eat healthy. I can't eliminate pork from my life. I'm striving to make healthier changes in my life, and I just got to I'm getting interrogated. Like, when I see somebody that's not eating pork, I'm not going to ask them why, because it's obvious. Like, they're striving to be healthier. It's Captain Obvious. I'm not going to be like, man, why you not eating pork? Because pork is not healthy. So when I see people make certain changes, I ain't asking questions. Matter of fact, I'm going to applaud them. I'm going to be inspired by it if I'm not doing it. Like, come on now, I'm motivated. But if you've ever made those changes, man, you already know why you don't eat pork no more. You Muslim. Why you listening to this type of music? I don't want to hear people preaching all day. Like, you just get criticized left and right from your own people. You weren't why you wearing all these Marcus Garvey shirts and this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like, any type of criticism you can think of, I didn't got it. What you reading for? You not in school. All that. I done got all of that. And then you'll get called boring for sure. Especially when you a black man that's studious, that's studying, researching, whether it's yourself or these books or just lectures, whatever. You definitely gonna get called boring. You don't know how to have fun and all this type of stuff. Too serious, all that. I didn't, what I'm saying? I didn't got hit with all that at some point, but now, like I said, I don't care. Call me what you want. But one thing I'm learning how to do is stay alive and survive. I could have taken a lot of other approaches that may have been fun, but would have led me to not being alive or being locked up, all that type of good stuff. So I'm choosing some things that's going to keep me alive for a lot longer. Torenzo, what's happening? Ryan, yeah, for sure, man. Like, even drinking, man. I can't tell you the amount of people that be surprised that I don't drink and never had a drink. Like they be like, what? I've literally, this is how funny black people are. And that this is not all black people. Of course, I'm not putting them in a box, but I've had a large amount of people that I've come across in my life. A lot of people, I would say, that when I be like, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I'm not much of a dancer. They be like, what you do for fun? Now, mind you, man, I just named 3 things. I just said I don't smoke, I don't drink, I'm not much of a dancer. Man, that's 3 things. And they be like, what you do for fun? Like, I just named a million things that I don't do. I named 3 things. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't dance. All of a sudden now, I just eliminated 99% of the things that you could do to have fun. I'm like, what? I'm like, I just named 3 things, and they make it seem like I can't do anything to have fun. Like, what? But that I would get that a lot, man. When I was like, man, I'm not much of a dancer. Like, it's just not my thing. I don't dance. I have a problem with people who do dance. I'm just not a dancer. Not every black person dances, fam. You know, some people just don't dance. Like, some people are not dancers. I'm one of them. You know, and I'm fine. Like, I know how to have fun at a party without dancing. I don't have to dance to have a good time at a function. You know what I mean? So when I would say those 3 things, people would literally be perplexed. Like, what do you do to have fun? Like, it's not 1,000 other things I can do outside of those 3. But that's how funny my people are, man. Like, that's it. Like, that's the only way we can turn up and we got to turn up, have fun. I know how to turn down and have fun. Like, how about that? You know, I know how to turn down and have fun and have a good time. But yeah, when people hear me say those 3 things that I really don't do, they get highly confused, as if I just can't do anything. Plenty of things we could do, man. We don't have to turn to drinking and smoking all the time to have a good time. Now, if that's what you do on the smoking end, drinking, man, you need to cut that out. Like, it's certain views I have toward smoking that's not favorable. But hey, if you're gonna do one or the other, smoke at least. Drink and cut that out, man. That's tearing you all the way up. And if you are a drinker and you listening, you tapped in, I'm telling you, I'm talking to you. You know, cut that out. Do your best to cut that out right now, starting today. You know, it's somebody got to hold you accountable. Somebody got to tell you that for you to listen. Like, that's destroying you in way more ways than that smoking. So cut that out, fam. Cut that out. You do not need to do it. Literally, you do not need to do it. Like, literally. You know, and people don't be wanting to hear that truth about themselves and their habits. But hey, if somebody or if nobody's gonna tell you that truth, I'm gonna be the one. So cut all that out, man. Especially when you got that knowledge of yourself, man. Especially when you came across that knowledge and you know how detrimental what you're doing to yourself is. When you know something is detrimental and you still partaking in it, man, come on. What they say, if you know better, you'll do better. Like, no, know better, do better, be better. Like, that's just what we got to do. You got the knowledge, man, that you do it and you be it. Stop poisoning yourself when you know that's what you're doing. Like, straight up. And then stop making excuses for doing it. You know, if you're going to poison yourself knowing that it's poison, then be accountable for it. Be accountable for it and don't be upset and surprised by the consequences, by the results. Like, you knew that was poison, so now you sick. Now you got some type of ailment that was on you. Can't blame nobody else for that. Can't blame your work. Can't blame your kids. Can't blame your spouse. Can't blame any of that. You are choosing to indulge in these poisonous habits, man. That's all on you. So again, either stay away from them or accept the consequences that come with indulging in those type of habits. You know, but y'all, man, with that being said, man, hey, I'm on a time crunch, man. I'm starting this master's program tomorrow, you know, for this counseling degree. So, man, I got to get on top of this work, man. Y'all know, still trying to maintain this gym and then do this school thing. It's going to be, hey, It's gonna be a battle, but I'm here for it. If anybody can do it, it's me. So I'm ready for it. So I'm about to stay on top of this work. So I got some things I gotta read, man. I got some chapters in these books I gotta read. And that's right up my alley. So I'm gonna keep y'all posted on the progress with this degree, man. I'm gonna try to keep y'all in the loop as far as how this thing is going for me, man. But this is gonna be easy work. School is actually easy, man. This is nothing. So I'm gonna fly through this, man, but I'm gonna keep y'all posted. But on top of that, man, I'm just prioritizing things that I gotta do. So I appreciate y'all tapping in for this build, man. But I'm about to go ahead and get this work cracking, so I can at least have a few hours to myself to relax and chill and all that good stuff, man. So I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate the dialogue, man. It's always peace. But I'm gonna let y'all get back to enjoying the rest of y'all Sunday, man. I'm out. Y'all be easy. Peace.